Good morning, everybody. It's Fulfilment Friday and it's the 24th of April and we're in the year 2020. It just seems ages. I think people are forgetting what day it is, what month it is. Anyway, today the focus is going to be on thinking about your own personal values, your needs, your growth and your achievement. And I bet none of you have probably been doing that. In fact, you probably never do this. So I wanted to end the week with a sense of achievement and fulfillment. So you're ready to plan for the coming weeks. And the focus will be on your own needs. Now remember, it's not being selfish to do this. If you don't focus on yourself and your own needs, you're not going to be able to take care of others. And it's difficult enough for our emergency workers just now. Their focus is on others and they will need a lot of uplifting and motivational, inspirational things when this is over to take care of their own mental well-being. So, Fulfilment Friday is all about looking at your achievements. Now, this can be difficult because you've got to look inside, look within yourself, and that's actually not easy to do. I think I briefly mentioned yesterday and previously, sometimes I feel like a broken record, but past conditioning can impact and does impact on your life. Because when you're young, you look to your parents, your teachers, your authority figures for recognition. And as you grow up, that continues as well. And it's probably because it depends on how you've been recognised. Sometimes it's maybe been that if you're trying to talk about how well you've done in something, you'll have been told to be quiet. I mean, stop boasting about yourself. Well, in fact, it then becomes a habit to always look for others for recognition. So what I'm asking you to do now is to recognise your own achievements. Now, I think I spoke before about if you're finding this difficult, it's probably because you've been told, you've grown up to be told all the time that stop being arrogant, stop being boastful, and you're told often about your flaws. Now, I remember that I was giving a motivational talk alongside Rennie Carriol, who is an inspirational speaker. And when we were chatting after we'd come off stage, he said to me, he reminded me that it's interesting. I don't know whether it's a British thing, a Scottish thing, an Irish thing. I do really Welsh, better mention them all. Because we tend to always consider our flaws. Now, he said he was he went for an interview with a company in the States, and one of the questions they said to him was, "Tell us about your achievements." And he said, I had to stop and think, I don't know, but I could tell them about 40 of my flaws. And of course, it was then he realised that perhaps it might be a kind of maybe a United States thing. They seem quite happy to talk about their achievements. And I think we're a bit more modest. And there is, of course, this difficulty between being arrogant and aggressive and arrogant. And it's you need to kind of think about the tone of your voice and how you talk about your achievements. But I think that I know that having spoken to lots of people both here and in the States, it seems that they don't have any problem in saying, oh yes, I have had 2 books published, I write poetry, I am a painter, I'm an actor, and we seem to have that sort of difficulty. And I think we've got to consider that it is not being boastful, provided, of course, you're not using that kind of tone of voice to say, look at me. So it's about valuing yourself. And I think that's also a difficulty with some people with their own business. It can be, what do I charge? Or maybe I'm too cheap, maybe I'm too dear. It's kind of to set the pace that you're happy with, but you're also valuing the service that you're giving. So when you've been conditioned in the past not to be boastful, it impacts on you and can therefore create barriers to you to changing your mindset and self-improvement. And it is a real difficulty. So It can also be seen in the workplace. I remember giving a talk once when I was talking. I wrote a book on my 7 attributes, and one of them is about, well, there's 2 of them: praise and encouragement and value. And I said to the audience, how recently or have you been praised? And a hand shot up, and interestingly enough, this talk was in London, but the chap by his accent was actually Scottish. And he said, oh yes, he said, I get the appraisals all the time. And I thought, no, I wasn't actually thinking about that, because he then went on, we had a chat afterwards as well, and I said to the audience, appraisals, how often are they constructive? So often feedback is all about what you've done wrong, and nobody focuses on maybe the things you've done well. Now, you need to know about the things you've done wrong, obviously, to improve on them. But a good friend of mine, and I think it's been good advice I've taken over the years, is if you're giving an appraisal or you're having to give feedback to somebody, always start with something positive. Then go on to talk about maybe what they could do better in, and end on a positive. You need to boost people up, but we also need to know what we need to improve on. So it's a difficult one, but the tips now for Friday are: don't wait for someone else to praise you or encourage you. You need to start praising yourself and encouraging yourself and congratulating yourself. So, following on from every day, I do my ABC. Hope you're all doing them now. So we need an affirmation just now. Just take a minute to say to yourself, and I'm going to say it too, is I praise myself. I am proud of my achievements. Now, when you say this, it empowers you. And even when I'm saying these words just now, you can say them also. I am empowered. It makes such a difference. Don't wait on anyone else to say, oh, well, that's lovely baking, or that's a lovely painting. Just sit back and say to yourself, this is an achievement. I am proud of this. So when your strengths are not celebrated and they're neglected, this is when you're growing up, and even now, you never actually really develop these strengths into greater ones. So don't get me wrong. It's great to get recognition from others as well. Never ignore that. But recognising your own strengths and achievement is so much more powerful. The next thing, another little exercise, maybe don't do it just now, but when you come off the daily video, write down your achievements. Now, people are going to go, no, I haven't achieved anything today or this week. It doesn't matter how small. You may not know this, but when you sit down and actually take a pen to paper or a pencil to paper and write down your achievements, and it can be simple things like, I went a slightly longer walk today, or I've never baked before and I baked this week. Even if it turned out drastically, you've actually achieved something. And when you do this, there is a sort of scientific background to this. Now, I sound like Trump here. I am not a doctor. But it releases dopamine and other chemicals. And it causes a feel-good factor. And it gives you energy. So there is a reason to these exercises. So when you're writing something down, please do this. Feel the power of recognising your own achievements and strengths. Get into the habit of writing your achievements. Maybe not every day, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, or today, Friday, at the end of the week, sit back and think, what have I achieved? And start writing it down. I recommend that you write down 3 achievements. Now, you might say, no, that would be impossible. But you have to think of them as the tiny achievements. These are the things that actually make a difference. It could be that, you waved to the neighbour across the road that you've never mentioned before, or smiled, or said hello. That's an achievement. If you've been shy, just do something different. You'll be surprised at what you have achieved if you think you haven't achieved anything. So let's think about also, I mentioned the cookie jar before, but I think if you write down these achievements, then put these bits of paper in the cookie jar, or create an achievement board and stick it up beside the inspiration board. And then you can look at it is so empowering, and you think, wow, look at me. And you can do this yourself. You're not telling anyone else. You don't need to tell anyone else. But of course, if your partner or children or somebody says, oh, look, mummy, oh, look, you've done a fantastic thing, then take that on board as well. It really feels good. Now, another exercise, and this is kind of a bit counterintuitive here, but I want you also to make a list of your weaknesses. Oh, I bet you can have a list, probably 100, 1,000 things. I don't want you to write 1,000 things down, but if you write down what you think is a weakness for yourself, and then beside each one of these weaknesses, I want you to use a strong word, change it around to look at it as a strength as opposed to a weakness. Now, what can we say here? Like, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Now that can get me down. So being a perfectionist might sound like a strength, but by gum, it can get you down, and you rewrite things, you reread things, you do them again, and you need somebody to say, look, enough is enough. So if you write down the word perfectionist, then opposite that, you can write down attention to detail. Because that's what a perfectionist is. So turn it into a strength, saying, well, I'm actually good at that. I'm good at looking at the detail of things. Are you over eager? People might say, oh, you're always, you're over the top here. Well, write the word maybe over eager down, but opposite, you can write, I'm passionate. I'm passionate about what I do. In fact, I know that sometimes when I talk, I hope it hasn't come across in the videos, but when I'm passionate about something, I tend to talk faster and faster. In fact, I used to say to my students, if you find I'm talking faster and faster, just stick your hand up and I'll know to slow down. So if you do that, then you will find that you will become the glass half full person, not the half empty, even the glass full person. Now, I've got a wee exercise here. I hope you can see this. You can do it in your own time, and then you can post or private message me with what shapes you are, because although I'll be here maybe for another half hour, I've got 5 shapes here. It's just a quick exercise, and I'll show it to you now. Right, can you see it there? There's a circle, a squiggle, a triangle, a square, and a rectangle. I hope you can all see that. 5 shapes: circle, squiggle, triangle, rectangle, and square. Now, I want you to, maybe you've drawn these yourself on a bit of paper. That might have been better to ask you to do that. And you've got to choose the 2 shapes that you like the best. Maybe wave if you want me to do it again, or say, please use it again. Right, there we are, 5 shapes. Maybe just draw them on a bit of paper just now, or write down the 2 shapes you like the best. Now, for each of these shapes, there's a kind of positive and a negative. And it's just a quick exercise, but sometimes we have kind of a dominant trait, and these are quite good at showing me I'm a circle and a squiggle, or a squiggle and a circle. I love these shapes, and the squiggle is somebody who's highly creative. And I know that. Now, that doesn't mean I'm the fabulous painter or the writer or the artist. I don't mean that. I mean that I've got so many ideas in my head. Now, that can become a problem when I want to focus, because I've got so many ideas. So that's kind of the downside to the squiggle. Your brain's so full of things. So I need to maybe bring in one of the other shapes, whether it's my square or my triangle, to focus on something. The circle are people who like to be social. Now, I don't mean again that you're a party goer. You might be a party goer, but you like people. I love people, and I like dealing with people. So to me, being isolated here and working from home, I'm not getting the face-to-face contact. Even students now, I'm still doing quite a lot of examination work, and I'm not meeting them. And although I've got Skype, yes, I've got video conferencing. Oh, how I miss that real contact with people when we used to be able to just see their facial expressions, listen to the tone of the voice, and just be connected with them. The best we can do just now, of course, is the video conferencing. And of course, I'm a hugger, as people know. I love our five senses. I like touch, and it's so important. In fact, it brings me to a wee story. Many years ago, I was visiting an old relative who was in well, I suppose a dementia ward, really, and there was a lady there beside her who used to scream constantly. And I went in one day, and she was sitting next to my friend and screaming, and it was so difficult, but I just put my hand across and just touched, just laid it on her arm, and the screaming stopped immediately. It was the touch. I mean, it was, in fact, even the nurses were going, what happened? I said, I just kind of touched her. Not any great hug, but just this sense of touch just brought a calmness to her. So, and it's difficult, of course, in the workplace now. We're not allowed to touch, and nurses, there's so many things. Schools, teachers can't. I mean, I think there was a small village school where they used to have a headmaster and headmistress, which was fabulous. And if a kid fell, they would go and give them a hug and see that their knee was all right. And when the headmaster and his wife left, it was replaced and all the rules came in, and they're not allowed to touch. So you get a phone call from the school to say, your child's fallen, the knee is scraped, you'll need to come. It's sad. We know the reason for it, but it is really sad that these things are happening. I just love nothing better than a hug. In fact, just... I got overexcited there. Everything fell. That was me giving myself a hug. So let's give ourselves a hug just now. Oh dear, I'm getting over passionate about what I'm doing here. Now, the next tip is don't compare yourself to others. Now, I've said this before, so it's just a repetition. It's more, it's like a broken record again. But these things work. And the reason I say that don't compare yourselves, we tend to compare ourselves to someone who just looks wonderful. You think they've got a better life than you. Social media creates this. We see photos of glamorous people. I hope I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. And although this is supposedly Dress Up Friday, it's so difficult because what you're seeing is not the real person. You're not actually seeing you're only seeing a very small part of them. So don't get pulled down and dragged into comparing yourself to others. You need to just say, I am me and I am beautiful. So it's just praising yourself, bringing yourself up. And remember, another tip is choices. You do have choices. If you do get the feedback that's maybe it hurts you and you think, I don't know, you need to sort of use your own filter. Try and not to you have to remain detached and objective when somebody is giving you feedback, which is very difficult to do, because if somebody says something about you that's quite negative, you get hurt. Nobody likes rejection. Nobody likes this. And I know it's difficult, but you need to focus on the constructive, the helpful words and the phrases that are used that can help you. That's right. That is something I can take on board and can improve on. Now, hopefully anyone who's giving feedback to anybody, or if you're receiving it, you should be using effective communication. Now, I kind of put forward a model of effective communication, and it's interesting that it uses words. In fact, I'll tell you, when somebody is talking to you, focus and attend. And that means trying this FA I talk about, focus and attend to what they're seeing. Now, often what happens, particularly in the workplace, I know this happens, you're walking through a corridor and your manager or somebody says, by the way, there's a meeting at the end of the day, and they're straight on, and you're left sort of shocked and they're rushing off to somewhere else. Very difficult. That's not effective communication. They should be not meeting you. In fact, you can stop them and say, look, I'm sorry, can we discuss this in an office or when there's time to talk about it? So focus and attend works both ways. So you're listening carefully. The next thing is acknowledge. Now, people think that's accepting what people are saying. It's not. You need to acknowledge. You can just nodding. That's not you accepting what people are saying. The next thing you need to do is clarify. How many times are words rushed at you, you don't have time to clarify, you get the wrong end of the stick, and it's a miscommunication and it's misinterpreted. So you need to clarify. And that means saying perhaps, could you repeat that again? Or I'll think about that. I need to think about this. And then responding is the other one. Now, again, people, this is like a misnomer. Responding does not mean saying, yes, I'll do that, or no, I'm not going to do that. Responding, again, are words like, yes, I'll think about that and get back to you. Or we'll need to maybe clarify. It's a whole cycle, so you need to focus and attend again. That's proper, effective communication. And actually, it is rarely done. And you can probably think back yourselves to many things that have happened to you and you think, man, I didn't understand that. And sometimes when you're in a position of maybe lower down the managerial scale and that your manager's talking to you, it's quite difficult maybe to say these things, could you clarify that bit? That gets back to being confident enough to say that. And that sometimes grows with age. I've kind of always been somebody who's stuck my hand up and said, sorry, could you explain that again? And sometimes I feel, I'll feel stupid here. But actually, afterwards, so many people come up and say, I'm so glad you put your hand up. I didn't know what they were talking about either. So kind of try never to be afraid to say, look, sorry, could you explain that again? None of us are superhuman. So you choose what is constructive and what is unnecessary. You're filtering out these things. Don't get drawn into the opinion of others. And again, obviously, if something if something you genuinely want to work on is being talked about, then accept it and then take time to reflect within yourself. Ask yourself, is this something that I want to work on or I need to work on? And that takes me to another exercise. Well, I'm overloading you with exercises today, but it is Friday and you've had a long week, I know, but just take your time to think about these, and the video can be replayed, I think, and you can listen to it again. So the exercise is about needs, not wants. So you've got to think about what you need, not what you want. And these get confused. But if you do my ABC, the affirmations, the breathing, just calm yourself down, and the creative imagination, using your imagination creatively, they will help you to look inwardly at yourself, and you'll start to recognize the difference between what you need and what you want. Two different things. So some questions to think about over the weekend. How can you make things easier and life more balanced? And this is a difficult time, but you've got time just now to do that. How easy do you find it to express yourself? You are so busy nowadays, it's very, very difficult. But take time to think about that one. And then what mind activity are you passionate about? We're all running around. I see people, there's more joggers than ever now. There's people cycling, so many doing physical exercise. And don't knock it, physical exercise, you have to have that. But I wonder if any of them, or maybe there's a few, but I don't know if everyone does this. They need to be working out their mind. I mean, mind workouts I would say, more important than the physical exercise. I can't do all the 26k jogging or the 10k even now. I did a 10k a while ago. I could maybe walk it. I don't know about running it. But I would always start, which is what athletes do. They start with mind workouts. They visualize what they're going to achieve. And in their mind, they've already achieved it. And then they carry out the training towards that. So keeping your mind sharp and active, there's a lot of psychological and scientific research that keeping your mind active and increasing your brain and physical activity, the both combined, making lifestyle choices can help reduce the risks of dementia. So hopefully, and we'll maybe see in years to come that works with me, and then you'll have you'll be saying, oh, we remember her. She wasn't. I don't think I'm demented yet. I get very passionate about what I'm saying, but these things are proven psychologically and scientifically. Why do they introduce all these things to care homes, to for the elderly, for the older people? You have puzzles nowadays, you've got Sudoku, you've got memory games, and all other creative activities, painting, acting, um, small things, just even small projects. They all, if you're using your brain plus physical exercise, they say that does reduce the risk of dementia. Now, being isolated, this is a great time to start something new. We've talked about that already. You might start reading a new book, learning a new hobby. All these things are going to get your mind going, and creating that sense of achievement as well. It might even be something that you don't think you love. Lots of people thought, well, I'm not a baker, I don't like baking. And suddenly they become really good at that. They're baking things and actually quite enjoying it. So enjoy the simplest things in life. Nature in all its beauty. I mean, there's nothing better. It's blue sky. There's quite a lot of sort of wispy clouds there, but you could stare at the sky for ages watching the cloud formations. And then finally, you'll be glad I'm getting to this. The last tip of the day is be still. Create time and space for yourself. And it's just a few moments. I'm not asking, it'd be lovely maybe if we had a whole day. I'm not asking you to take 24 hours to do this. Just take time and space for yourself. One of the fabulous things to do, actually, to be still, is just close your eyes and take a deep breath. Immediately you will feel grounded, you will feel centered, and you feel calm. And it's split seconds. You might have a young baby, they've been screaming all morning, you really don't know. Sometimes if they're not ill and there's nothing wrong with them, you can just leave them if you've got a separate room. Some people living in, one room with partners and 4 children, it's difficult. If you've got somewhere, or in a good day, maybe put them out in the pram and just go back a few yards from them. Just take a moment, close your eyes and breathe deeply. And it will immediately calm you. And then you can go back to doing this. So we're not saying leave a child to scream. I don't mean that. But just seconds, split seconds, these things can turn your whole life around. I mean, doing all these things can radically change your life. I know they do for me. They have done. And they're standing me in good stead. And I'm not superhuman. I have my terrible moments. Don't believe that I'm happy all the time. I don't want you to think you've got to be happy all the time. But if you're feeling yourself getting down, please do these exercises. And as always, I'm going to finish with a mind bite. My mind bites meditation. Now, this one helps you to be still. It helps you to value yourself, and it calms your mind. It brings you peace and reduces stress and anxiety. And I call it the calm lake. Now, we're not going to be going into the water, so don't panic. Nobody's going to be near water. You're just going to be going into the water. It's just I felt that nature, sometimes I like the ocean, I like water, and we're going to imagine the calmness of this lake. So if we're just sitting comfortably with our feet on the ground, please take a deep breath. Remember, from the tummy, it's got to be the diaphragm. And if you do yoga and if you're a singer or elocution exercises, you will know how to do this. So it's a deep breath. Now my shoulders aren't moving. A deep breath in, hold, and then exhale. So you can practice that. Hopefully you are, and you're getting used to doing that kind of deep breathing. So I want you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, hold, and then exhale. Now imagine that you're standing beside a calm lake. The sun is shining down. You feel the warmth on your face. You feel relaxed. You feel calm. The water is like a mirror, flat and calm. Now sit down at the edge of the water. Lie back. Feel the heat of the sun flow through your body. Listen. There is no sound. You enjoy the rest and tranquility. Your mind is now calm. You feel at peace. Your mind is still. Breathe in the warm air. Feel the warmth flow through your body. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold and then exhale. Take another deep breath in through the nose. Hold and then slowly exhale. Now slowly open your eyes and say, I feel calm. I feel relaxed. I feel worthy. I am worthy. My mind is calm. And then you can just shrug your shoulders and relax. You need to, once you've done a meditation, it's quite good to stretch or even yawn. So I hope you've enjoyed that. It's maybe been quite a long one today, but hopefully you try some of these exercises, and please PM me with your shapes and I can let you know what they mean. But basically we all have these different shapes in us, and if I'm a squiggle and circle, I maybe need to focus sometimes on the other shapes and bring everything into balance. It's all about feeling balanced. I've loved doing this daily video, and I don't do one on a Saturday and Sunday. The choice today of Fulfilment Friday was chosen, and there is a winner, and they'll be getting a notification as to the virtual hour with me, where they can talk about anything they want or like. And I've got no titles for next week, so if anybody wants to send me a suggestion for a title, always constructive, for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, and try and start it like Monday with an M, Tuesday with a T, etc. And I'm delighted that if I use your suggestion, then you win a virtual hour of my time, and I would look forward to speaking with you. So enjoy today, and thank you everybody for waving and for listening, and have a great weekend, and I'll be back on Monday. Okay, thank you. Bye.